So, members, we'll have the prayer and we'll start, will we? Yeah. Okay.
Majority electoratic solas ni cross the last one agree on a scrap parliament can over in a cordial shop the carnet August the core so per the gake in the fain August on Chiacona on Cointus August on Kirch Energy or God Iger Hui August Yas Jane the way near major the 3 Chris or Dearna and when I heard
Councillor Baker. Item 1 on the agenda to confirm the minutes of the municipal district meeting of the 21st of December 20. Proposed and second by Martin Conley. Matters arising. Everybody's happy. To receive a report on the dormant account funded scheme ability library project. That's Donald Tenney, I suppose, is it?
Yes, can you hear me?
Thanks, Donald. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, it gives me pleasure to report that we have engaged in a joint effort with Roscommon and Leitrim County Councils in providing a sensory service in our libraries. The collaborative project is entitled Sensibility. And as I say, it's a joint pilot project between Leitrim, Sligo and Roscommon local authorities, which is co-funded by the DRCD and each participating local authority. The project is a collaboration between the partners to establish sensory services in each local authority library service. The location for the project in Sligo is Ballymote Community Library, with a possible extension to Tubbercurry Community Library at a later date. The project itself has various strands which, when combined together, should have a major impact on the communities we serve. For the administration of Sensibility, Sligo County Council will act as the lead authority and has agreed that Mr. Ultan McNasser, Executive Librarian, Sligo County Council will act as the project coordinator, and Ultan has joined us for this meeting as well. The methodology involved is that we would go to tender and recruit an occupational therapist because this area is a very specialist area and we needed specialist advice. So we've recruited Dorothy Armstrong through the tender process, who will work on the project with us from January 2021 to November 2021. Dr. Armstrong is currently meeting staff online, that's library staff, and will review the locations in each county. She will review the physical locations. Mohill has been identified in Leitrim, Roscommon Town in Roscommon, and Ballymote, as I said, in Sligo. This will result in clear recommendations to the project team as to which educational tools should be employed to ensure that the various library locations in each county are best equipped to be centres for assisting learning whilst adding to their existing core services. For example, in Mohill, they have a dedicated room, a sensory room. Roscommon are looking at providing the tactile toys and a pod. And in Sligo and Ballymote, we're examining converting a room in Ballymote Library to a sensory room, or else going down the pod. We don't know yet, but we're waiting for direction from Dr. Armstrong. Dr. Armstrong will also undertake a written review of the project at the end of the specified period in an effort to determine the success of the project and make recommendations in moving forward with service. A part of the project will engage high-profile speakers on the recommendation of the occupational therapist to speak on various relevant topics, including ADHD, dyslexia, effective communication, children and technology, etc. These lectures with Q&A would be held through the medium of an appropriate online platform. This method would be beneficial for two reasons. One, the COVID-19 pandemic has altered normal library usage and switched public participation to become more online and interactive. And two, it's intended to allow for more engagement from participants in all three counties, as they would not have to travel to a specific venue. Thirdly, one library in each county, as I say, has been identified to house education tools, physical, tactile and technological, overseen by the occupational therapist. Once in situ, suitably qualified individuals in the health sector will be sourced by the occupational therapist in consultation with Sensibility project team in order to showcase the proper usage of the tools and through short video demonstrations. These short educational videos will cover topics as speech and language, dyspraxia, ADHD, behavioural therapy, parenting advice, etc., and would add to and support the initial high-profile lectures. It is envisaged that 6 of these education videos would take place, 2 in each county, which would also promote the locations as well as educational tools. Funding for the project, we've received a grant. Each county has received a grant of 19,500 DRCD, and we've had to match that individual by 2,166. The total budget for the Sensibility Project is 65,000. So by pooling our resources together, it allows us to operate at a higher level, and it's surely a great example of cooperation between the library service and local authorities. The staff have been undergoing training online in the last few weeks between Roscommon, Sligo and Leitrim. So it's already kicked off, and we look forward to delivering this to, I think we'll all agree, is a pressurised area given the COVID-19 and special needs requirements for the children in particular and the parents of the children. So that's it, Chairman. I'll be answer any questions you wish.
Thanks, Donald. Or if anyone wants to comment. On my own behalf, Donald, I want to thank you and your team for getting involved in this scheme. As someone myself who has experience of dyslexia, it's very important to get this impact in the libraries to people that need it and to support our schools. And it's a welcome move, and I hope that it grows from strength to strength. And I'm delighted that the staff has got some training too, because it's something that is a niche job, and it's not a simple thing to get around, and it'll be a great support to many families, especially in the Ballymote area. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, and could I just thank Donald for the report as well, and just to say well done to you and the staff on this great scheme and great initiative, and I certainly welcome it, and if I can be of any assistance, I'd only be delighted to help. So well done.
Is there anything else, Donald, you want to say yourself?
No, I just want to thank for your acknowledgement and offer of assistance. We look forward to coming back with a report at the end of the project and hopefully extending it into future years. Thank you, Councillor.
Thanks, Don. I'll move to item 7, which is my own motion. Councillor Mulvey is on his way. He'll be here before the end of the meeting. So, second that. Is there a report on that?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Morden.
Thank you, Chair. The council will arrange for an inspection as requested of the canopies and doors and windows in the Millview estate to be carried out when COVID-19 restrictions permit. In relation to grass cutting equipment, the Residents Association would have received grant assistance last year under the Estate Enhancement Scheme, and this scheme is due to be advertised again shortly. So it will be open to the Residents Association to apply for further grant assistance, and that might assist them in acquiring grass cutting equipment. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Moore. I want to welcome the report, and as that's one of our older estates in West Sligo, and the very active resident group there, and any support and assistance we can give them is welcome. Thanks for that. Item 8 is my own motion again there, and is there a report on that, Chair?
Okay, look, I don't think we actually have a report on that. I think it's just calling on us. If the members agree it, we'll write to the department. We've had a couple. You've raised one yourself with us in the last number of weeks, and that's probably the second or third one over the last few years. As I've mentioned before, look, for some reason the scheme is confined to Donegal and Mayo, and it does seem unfair. The product that is the cause of this appears, it doesn't recognise county boundaries, and it does seem unfair. So we can write to the department again, or to the minister, if the motion is agreed.
Councillor Queen.
Yeah, I will support the motion. I had a similar motion down last year, and the county manager gave me the same reply. It is unfair because there's definitely several houses, properties in South and West Sligo who has been affected by pyrite, and we are not in a position to get funding, which is that fair. Mayo and Donegal are up and going, so we should be included in that scheme.
Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, just to support the motion as well, and I think from what Councillor Queen has said and from what you said, C, as well, it's not just in any one place in Sligo. We've said here there's a lot of houses in South and West Sligo, and I'm aware of a number of houses myself and people that have contacted me, and it's difficult to point them in any direction when we're not on this scheme. So I think if if we want to help, we need to be on this scheme, and I'd certainly support any calls to write to the Minister for Sligo to be included in the scheme.
Just on my own behalf, I want to speak to the motion and say that I think the issue that we don't have many numbers is because of the cost of the report that's required to bring down to attract the grant and the compensation. And as my colleagues have just said, it's very unfair that product that's made in the same from the same supply sources in Mayo and Donegal that we can't attract it here in Sligo. So I'd urge RCE to make every effort to get us included and get those houses addressed. Thanks, Mr. Phil. Item 9. This is a motion here that I put down in relation to a herd of deer that's active on the main N59 road at the moment, and a number have been killed there in the morning. And I'm reliably informed that the deer like the salt that we're shaking on the road or spreading the road to keep the frost down. They lick it, and that's why they're getting killed. They stop on the road to lick the salt. And I think that there has been 3 carcasses discovered there at the Killarney bins, and I think it's fair that we should put up some signs to make the traffic aware that it's a dangerous area for deer. Councillor Mulvey.
The deer is owned by Mulvey.
No, I've been up and 2 dogs to mind. No, just in support of the motion as well. Maybe just if they're looking at signage, the Killarney-Calooney Road, the L2101, I've also had reports of a lot of people saying that they're encountering a lot of deer coming across that road. So just if signage was being erected, that if that road could be considered as well. Thanks. Around near Tullahan there, they're coming across the mountain there and out on the Killarney-Calooney Road.
Sligo County Council will erect deer crossing signs on the N59 from Beltra to the Hungry Rock Junction. And just to confirm that we have checked in TII, I have no objection to the signage, so we'll proceed with that.
That's welcome news. Councillor Taylor.
Could I just say that I think even on the R293 last week, there was 2 accidents with deer as well. One between Gerching and Balladreen, and another between Gerching and Ballymote. And it's something that it's interesting what you say there about the salt on the roads, because it's something that I wouldn't have heard of before locally, or you wouldn't normally see them on those roads. So I do think the public should be aware that the danger is there. And certainly on social media last week, it was all over social media the amount of accidents that there were. So it's a good way of making them aware. So I think we should try and make them aware at every opportunity we can.
Well, not many people knows about the animals talk to me. That's why I know they like the salt.
Do they listen to you know what as well?
Thanks, Seymour, for that report, and it's welcome that the signs will be put in place. And I'll go back to number 4. Councillor Mulvey has joined us.
Yeah, apologies, Chair. Look, I've just got delayed on the way in. No, this motion, there's a short stretch of road just as you turn out on the Gerching Road in Ballymote. There's called Primrose Lane, and while there was some resurfacing works carried out on the R293, there's just a short piece there that if it could be considered for resurface, and some of the residents there have contacted me, and it is a little bit worn in some sections, so just if it could be considered.
Could I support the motion?
Thanks, Emer.
Okay, so this section of road is not included in the current roadworks programme, and therefore no budget is allocated this year for the road, but it will be considered for inclusion in the next 3-year multi-annual restoration programme, which will commence next year in 2022.
Thanks, Ms. Kincannon, for that. Just if a costing could be got on it, because it is a very short stretch. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, motion number 5, Councillor Mulvey again.
Yeah, and this is just I suppose, look, we were aware that some funding would be made available for public lights, and it's just if there is going to be budget in our municipal district for this, because I know I've certainly had a few people contact me, and I'd say a lot of the councillors, just there's a lot of different areas where public lighting is required, and if there is a fund, or can we in different areas put in an application or an expression of interest for public lighting, because it's a long number of years since I know I've had any public lights.
Emer, thank you.
Okay, clear. Look, Sligo County Council is operating under significant financial constraints in relation to the provision and maintenance of public lighting. At the moment, there is no capital funding for investment in new public lighting. The provision of standalone projects involving the construction of new lighting, together with associated civil works, is not currently envisaged. The maintenance fund available is strictly for and targeted at the maintenance of the existing public lighting network. The public lighting budget for 2020 had a significant cost overrun, and the current financial demand on the 2021 funds in this regard is unprecedented. Any proposals, even those we would like to prioritise on health and safety grounds or on the grounds of aesthetics, cannot be considered in the short term.
Councillor Mulvey.
But every year I'm hoping for good news. Look, I suppose, and thanks, Ms. Kincannon, for that reply. It's something, look, I know, and I presume a lot of the other councillors are getting were I suppose primarily maybe during the lockdown there's an awful lot more people out walking, and I've had a lot more people, I suppose, just expressing places where the feel that there's dark spots, or I suppose, and I know Mr. Confederate said it, that they are retrofitting, they're putting in the LED lights, but if some areas where there is maybe what we call a dimly lit area, that if an LED bulb has been replaced, if Electric Skyline could consider putting in a higher wattage LED, it would give maybe better light into some areas, because there are some places where you have spaces, and with I suppose, look, it's maybe it'll quieten down a bit now as the evenings get longer, but there's, we're all well aware there's never been more people than now out walking, and I suppose we don't want any fatalities. That if it could be considered, that if there is areas that are being considered, maybe we could submit them and just keep them on consideration.
Councillor Baker.
Councillor Maloney.
Councillor Maloney.
Yeah, just to support the motion, I think we have all areas that needs lighting, and it's something that comes up all the time, and I suppose the longer it's left, the more it's going to cost, so if there could be an allocation put towards it, would be great.
Councillor Baker.
No, what I was going to say, I think it's something that we should look at in next year's budget, because we put X amount into footpaths and stuff like that, so I know it's something that I think that we should look at.
Can I ask Ms. Kilcannon in relation to it? The council have embarked on a replacement with LED to reduce our maintenance costs in the lights. Will there be a point in the future, maybe 2 or 3 years when that programme is complete, that we can then look at a new scheme for covering black spots, as the councillor has just asked? Can you see the pressure coming off that budget at any time in the future?
My understanding is that the National Road budget, the replacement of the LEDs currently, it's been funded by TII. But all I can say on that is that the whole climate action is becoming such a huge, topic nationally, and we have, very significant targets as a local authority, and each local authority has. So it may be something that may be addressed on a national level under the climate action agenda. So maybe that's the way to pursue it. Potentially.
I think just the project that you've referred to and that Emer mentioned, we were anticipating that it would kick off in the third quarter of this year, but with COVID, it's probably going to go out into 2021. We have to draw down a loan to fund the cost of retrofitting the lights, and the payback is estimated to be about 7 years. So we're certainly looking at 7 years of effectively standing still, because we have to meet the costs of repaying the loan that we'll draw down, even though, as Emer has said, our maintenance costs, our running costs will go down. But we are looking at every opportunity. I think I'd be correct in saying, Emer, when we were looking at submissions for the active travel scheme, we're looking at it in the context of, cycling, footpaths, and part of that is lighting as well. Now, I know the initial allocation we received today for active travel is modest, but it's only the start, so I think Emer is right. That's the area where going forward we might have an opportunity to deal with the shortfalls in public lighting that we have across the county.
Thanks, Mr. Killella, for that. I think that's where we're at, all right, that we have to wait and see can we see the effects of it. Thanks very much, G. Now, the next motion is Councillor 6, Councillor Mulvey, number 6.
Yeah, thanks, Cahirlock. Yeah, just while we all welcome, and it was great to see the new public car park officially opened there before Christmas at the Rock Ballymote. Just a few people have asked me if maybe some signage, possibly one across the road near the Church of Ireland Church, just indicating where the new car park is, because while the locals are familiar with it, some people that are coming in, they're not. It is like it's in at the back of the main street, but just if some signage could be considered, it would be welcome.
Councillor Mullaney.
Yeah, just to compliment Councillor Mulvey on the motion. I work beside the car park and it's not being used the way it should be. An awful lot of days there's less than a half dozen cars in it. And the disappointing thing about it is there's people comes into Ballymote every morning, parks their cars on the street and goes away for the day, when that area should be used on the street for people that comes into town, wants to pick up something for a shop. And long stay parking should be in the car park. So I'd be calling on people to park their cars that would be coming into town for a long day, to park it in the car park. And I think I totally agree with Councillor Mulvey, we definitely needs signage.
Emer.
Yes, Cahirlock, I'll just confirm that new signage is ordered and will be erected in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks, good. Item 10, Councillor Queen, and I'll second that myself.
Yes, Cahirlock, just in order to commence this process, a public consultation process would need to be carried out initially to see if there's a consensus with stakeholders in the area to proceed with this proposal. The agreement of An Garda Síochána would also be sought. And just to note that the rerouting of traffic from the R297 to the Pier Road via the Cliff Road would require works including installation of traffic and pedestrian signals and a footpath at the Pier Road R297 junction. These works would need to be designed and funding sought for construction to enable the one-way system to be implemented. But we can commence the consultation process in the coming months if the council so wish to proceed.
Thanks very much for your report. Public consultation process awful slow to start. And on this one now for the last 18 months. Big reason why we need to put the reason why we need to put Pier Road on a one-way is because the location of the secondary schools, Carmen and Jesus Mary, which is over 400 students, and it is a nightmare on that route, especially when as Cliff Road is one way, the cars are coming on the way, and we need to bring it all around to one-way system. I appreciate there will be some money needed, but I urge to get the process going as soon as possible. And I missed to put in Duck Street also in that, which is simple, down at Banda Town. I think local engineer Joe Devaney is going to proceed with that very quickly. That's a straightforward onto the beach route, and with all the indications about summer in Enniscrone and other seaside resorts, if the COVID restrictions are lifted, there are going to be huge crowds in Enniscrone. In fact, the bookings now, there are people on a waiting list for booking for houses in the months of July and August already. So, Sligo County Council will have to be, that's one area, the Duck Street, we'll only put one way, it's only a short street because there'll be mayhem down there. There was mayhem last year on the busy days. And in fairness, Joe Devaney is on the ball, and also it's not in this division yet, but I brought up the last meeting, is the need of public toilets, and that'll have to be dealt with in the event of the COVID restrictions being lifted in the town. So thank you. Thanks, Seamer. I'm happy.
Item 11, Councillor Queenan again.
You could have a report, just on the clarity on that.
Okay,
How are you
Chair.
doing?
Doing very well. Good to see you. Okay, Chair. Yeah, Section 11.2 of the current County Development Plan sets out the Council's planning policy on telecommunications and states that it is the aim of the Council to achieve a balance between facilitating the provision of telecommunication services in the interest of social and economic progress and protecting residential amenity and environmental quality. So the development plan indicates that the planning authority will have regard to the guidance document on telecommunications, antenna and support services in assessing proposals for telecommunications installations. Section 4.6 of these guidelines state that the sharing of installations, which would normally be antenna support and structures, will normally reduce the visual impact on the landscape. Therefore, all applicants will be encouraged to share and will have to satisfy the authority that they have made a reasonable effort to share. Where it is not possible to share a support structure, the applicant should, where possible, be encouraged to share a site or to site adjacently so that mass and antenna may be clustered. So therefore, in accordance with these provisions of the guidelines, the development plan states that operators should seek to co-locate their services by sharing a single mast or, if necessary, locating additional masts in cluster form. Sinead.
I thank you, Dorothy. I welcome that, Cahiera. What myself and the Cahiera knows of one of the villages in West Sligo where efforts were made in recent times to put up a new mast in a different location, where there already is a 25-metre mast on the facility. It's on the property of the government, so of the department. So I would hope that future applications that comes in any of these areas will be encouraged to co-locate on present masts rather than erecting new masts. There's no need to.
Thanks, Dorothy. Anything else, Dorothy, before you?
No.
That's what. Thank you. Any other member? No. All right. Okay. Now, item 12, Councillor Mullany.
This is the L5904. It's not on the current road programme, which ends in 2021. So the road will be considered for the next 3-year multi-annual restoration improvement programme commencing next year in 2022. And Sligo County Council will maintain the road in a reasonable condition until it is surfaced.
It's clear that this road runs to the Roscommon border and it's a road that could easily get forgot about, so I just want to keep it on the agenda. It's up by Kenback School, Councillor Baker.
Yeah.
There is a fear there that they will be forgotten about, so thank you.
Item 13, Councillor Mullany again.
Report, please.
This is similar. Sligo County Council will consider the L1904 for the next multi-annual restoration improvement programme, which commences next year, 22 to 24.
Yeah, thanks very much. This is the road that runs by where Grace shop was from Ballymote across to Killadoon, and it's a short enough bit of a road. I can't remember even when it was there last, so I hope we get it onto the programme.
Thanks, Councillor Mullany. Item 14, Councillor Mullany again.
My apologies, I just don't seem to have that report in front of me. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, look, different voice, same message. Sligo County Council will consider the L5204 in Drumree for the next multi-annual restoration improvement programme running from 2022 to 2024. Thank you, Barry.
Yeah, this is a road that Councillor Baker would have had a motion on, I think, back in our summer municipal meeting. We're getting an awful lot of grief about it. It's in shocking bad condition, and I'd hope that this road will come in on the first year of the next programme.
Councillor Baker.
I'd just like to support Councillor Malani. It's one of the worst roads because the whole centre of it is high and it's just dangerous and it's narrow. So it'd be one of the worst roads that's in it. Thank you.
Item 15, Councillor Connolly.
Yes, Chair.
Doherty.
Yeah. Yes, sorry. Yeah. Yes. Now, Sligo County Council does not own either number 15 or number 18 Connolly Park in Tubbercurry. They are privately owned, and the names of the owners, all right, have been previously identified by the enforcement section of Sligo County Council. Now, Councillor Connolly, if it's okay with you, Mark Cummins might give you a call, and he certainly will carry out an inspection of the two properties to ascertain their current condition, as we believe that they may be in bad condition at this stage. If that's okay.
That's perfect. Thanks very much for that, Dorothy. Just for the other members, there are just two houses that's in very bad condition, and they're attracting an awful lot of dumping and unwanted four-legged friends as well. So there was just a question as to who had ownership of them properties. Thanks very much.
Yes, we are aware of the owners. So we
could I just support the motion, and myself and Councillor Connolly would have got plenty of calls regarding these houses, and especially number 15, and Councillor Connolly has mentioned four-legged friends, and I think there's been a lot of baiting done on the site in that area recently, and they need access to house 15. They can't get access to house 15 at the moment, and the resident in number 16 is out of his mind, to be honest, because of what's going on there. So if there can be access got to number 15, I think that will cure a lot of the problems that is going on at the moment there. And I know the council barred up the windows on house 15, which they needed to do for safety reasons. But access to number 15 is very important right now at the moment.
Dorothy, can I ask you for my own information in relation to this issue here, we'll say, with 15 and 18? Is there not a scheme encouraged by the government to compulsory purchase houses like those and bring them into the housing stock and do them up? Would these be, in your mind, could it be set, this problem be solved by this, in this regard? Yeah,
no, you're probably right. Now, compulsory acquiring or using CPO in this situation is lengthy and can be challenging, because in a lot of cases where there might be dereliction or where a house or houses have fallen into disrepair, you usually find that there could be estate issues. Perhaps the owner or owners have passed on, and there may be an issue in relation to title or who owns it. But certainly, yes, because we are working on other houses or whatever else in relation to CPO, and looking to try to bring them back into some sort of a housing use. But it's not easy. It's not something that happens overnight. There's a lot of work that has to go in, I suppose, particularly in the first instance, to establishing the ownership of quite a number of them. So I have spoken with enforcement about these two properties, and I suppose they would have originally have been council houses. They would have been owned by Sligo County Council and would have been bought out perhaps many years ago. I think there probably is, enforcement have identity of the owners. It could be a little bit more complicated than that. But certainly, Mark Cummins, our enforcement officer, is willing to undertake an inspection, if he hasn't done so already, to see perhaps maybe what the best course of action might be in bringing them back into the housing stock. Now, because they're privately owned, and if the owners can be fully established, well then that would be up to them, and obviously we will be able to follow up with them in that regard. If there is a difficulty in establishing the ownership, CPOing them probably could work, but it will take quite a while. So there's probably a bit of work to be done, particularly with these two houses, but we'll certainly maybe follow up with Councillor Connolly in that regard to see what can be done.
Councillor Mulvey?
Yeah, just thanks and in support of the motion. I also had a call about them. I suppose, look, we were all, and as Councillor Taylor and Councillor Connolly have said, the poor gentleman that's living in the middle seems to be suffering the brunt of the problems where, we're all aware, I suppose, that the unfortunate thing is once you get one bag of rubbish thrown into a house, people seem to think that it's an open season then, and it just gets worse and worse. And I suppose my question on this is, if you have a property that is derelict and if there is ownership established, but if the owner of the property hasn't the means to do anything with the house, or if they're elderly, what happens then in a case like that? Because sometimes people, if they're left a property like that, it's going to cost them an awful lot of money to bring it to even a reasonable standard or to do anything with it to make it inhabitable. Is there any fund that they can apply to, or, certainly for some people like that to even engage with a solicitor to do anything with the property, it's going to cost them a lot of money. So I suppose sometimes people are left a property that is so derelict that it's a burden on them, and they're not in financial means to do anything with it. So is there any recourse for them that they can apply to some scheme or?
Not if it's Chair. If it's privately owned, I suppose it's a matter for them to decide whether they wish to sell it on, because there may be people out there who, are looking for older type or derelict type properties to do up, to bring them, back into some sort of a habitable condition and then sell them on. So, the CPO would probably arise maybe in a situation where there might be title issues. But as I said, it's a lengthy process. There isn't any in the grant scheme that I'm aware of for private individuals, unless through SEAI or something like that. Not for private, where houses are privately owned and they themselves, I suppose, if they're not living in it and they own it, it's kind of like a second property, and then perhaps maybe they have it's up to them perhaps maybe to sell it on, they so wish, if that suits, if that's a course of action that they wish to take. Thanks,
Dorothy. Councillor Connolly, are you happy enough with that, or do you want to?
Yeah, thanks very much, Dorothy, for that report. Yeah, if we could identify the owners, and I think you have identified them, maybe they wouldn't be too hard dealt with at this stage, because them properties, I might even think that they don't even know they own them. So the people that has them, it goes back that far, So maybe they mightn't be hard dealt with, something just to look into. And thanks very much.
And maybe if the threat of the process of CPO was there, it might encourage them to do something with it. If that process was begun, it might, in other words, put to the owners, if you're not going to do it yourself, we're going to take possession of it and do it up. So I think that's what Councillor Connolly is looking for.
Yeah, that's no problem. Certainly enforcement will take it up and they will undertake an inspection and they'll follow up with you, Councillor Connolly, because I think we do have details of the owners at this stage.
Thanks for that, Dorothy. Item 16, Councillor Taylor.
Thanks. Thanks, Ciara. This is a junction in Claret, that comes out onto the R361. That's predominantly in Roscommon, the R361. This is just a junction that the local people in Claret, on normal times, they have to cross it every day. Parents have to cross it every day to access the national school. It's been a problem for a good number of years now, and I've spoken to a good few area engineers at this stage about it. And again, Councillor Milani alluded to, the people on the edges are at the border, right beside other counties, that they feel like they're a small bit left out. But there is not much of the R361 in Sligo. I think it's only a kilometre or maybe 2 kilometres at most. That's all that's in the Sligo area. And this is certainly out on the edge beside Roscommon. But, in the interests of safety, the sight lines are poor because of a hill just on the main road as you look from the junction. And as I say, in the interest of safety for everyone crossing this junction and using this junction, and it is a busy road and a busy junction, I would like to see something being done once and for all. This has gone on quite a while now, and really the people up in Claret do really deserve to have something done with this junction once and for all. It's time now to have it dealt with. It's a serious issue up there, and I look forward to a good report.
Councillor Milani.
You're smiling, Emer.
Yeah, I want to support the motion. Am I right in thinking it's the road by Frank Dyers?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it certainly is a dangerous junction, and it's as I said earlier, it's on the edge of the county, and it certainly needs attention.
The report, Emer, or do you want to say something?
Yeah, Coherlock, the fence line was set back previously at this junction to improve sight lines. Sligo County Council do not have funding at present to carry out further works to this junction, but this project may be considered for a safety improvement scheme next year, 2022.
Thanks, Emer. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, look, I would welcome. I would welcome that. I think that's. I suppose in the present time that we're living in now, I would welcome that, and I would hope that it would be high on the agenda for a low-cost accident scheme. And thank you, Emer, for that.
Item 17, Councillor Baker.
This is just in relation to, it's just a lot of waste being thrown along the roads, not what we call the big piles of dumping, but where I be coming from, I know my own local GA club, Shamrock Gales, are on for doing a pick on the roads around their own villages, and maybe the big thing is if we're able to even get some support to bring this stuff into the keys there, or that'd be. But because what we see, if you keep it, tidy it up, we have one bit tidied already. It sort of encourages people not to throw more, but when you leave it there, they keep adding on. So whatever help in that way, that wouldn't be a problem bringing in stuff if we're able to get some support towards it. Thank you.
Councillor Milani.
Yeah, just to support the motion, and there's a particularly difficult dumping problem going on now around Lahara, and I just want to thank our Waste Disposal Officer Stephen for his prompt action in getting out there and finding a bit of evidence in the last week. Thank you.
I just want to add my support as well. It seems to be getting an awful lot worse with the pandemic, the litter in out and rural. I have a number of calls in relation to the Lougheasky Road and the Moor West as well, and it seems that people are actually back actively dumping litter, household litter, and suites of furniture and tables and beds and everything blatantly now along the roads again. I know that the GA clubs does great work during the summertime to do cleanups. But there is, I don't know what you can do, an awareness team, but maybe you have something for us on it.
Well, just to acknowledge that there has been quite an increase in littering and fly tipping along roadsides throughout the county. So National Spring Clean is scheduled to take place from March this year. However, numbers are to be restricted given the circumstances. But registration for community groups is now open with An Taisce. So clean-up packs, which include gloves and bags, will be distributed to registered groups in the coming weeks. Litter pickers are also available from the environment section at a fee of €3, should community groups wish to avail of additional supports. So correspondence will be issued to all registered groups in due course, outlining the type of material which can be collected during National Spring Clean, and arrangements can be made with the environment section for collection of community clean-up material following the arranged clean-up days.
Yeah, just to support the motion as well. And look, it is a huge problem at the moment. But to complement the Tidy Towns groups as well that do all this work, and as you've said, some GA groups as well, just to complement them. And there's a lot of local people now, as Councillor Baker has alluded to. You know, they're out walking the roads in their area because of the pandemic and the situation at the present time, and they are picking up litter. They are bringing bags and picking up litter. But I think they should be complimented. But also, you know, the people that are doing this fly tipping and the dumping, you know, we are, I suppose, doing our best to prosecute them at every opportunity. But as I've said before here, if anyone sees them doing it, you can get a photograph, get the number of whatever the vehicle is, and they have to be followed and prosecuted.
Councillor Mulvey, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, just in support of the motion. Look, I think we're all inundated with calls. I, over a fortnight ago, had a quite considerable amount of bags thrown out the ladies' bray. And I want to compliment the litter warden. He came out and he was very efficient, went through the rubbish. Now, unfortunately, at this point, he wasn't able to ascertain, you know, but I think if people, whatever we can do to publicise it, or, you know, people seem to have a very, very short span that they can think they can just peg it and that someone else will be responsible for it. So any way that we can highlight it, you know, or if there's any sort of a national number that we can highlight to promote, I think the more people that keep reporting it, and hopefully we'll catch some of the people. So I just fully support it.
Councillor Baker.
Yeah, just to thank you on that report, and I think also to thank the staff and the litter wardens, and I think a man I have praised him before is James McGowan. He goes round in all the bottle banks and tidies up and does enormous work. And where I be coming from as well, I know when the spring clean takes place, it sort of all falls back on James to gather up all the stuff, but I don't think there's always someone in the community that would help out if there was a little bit extra. So I say go through any of the councillors or that if there is, because I know he's ran off his feet as well. So whatever we can try and pull together and work together. And the other thing that disturbs a lot of people, the amount of masks that's thrown along the side of the road, and there is that fear of the masks. So thank you.
I also want to thank you, Eamon, for the report. It's encouraging that we're in a position to encourage local groups and support them with gloves and pickups and bags and all that, and to encourage them to do that. And we do appreciate them as a council, people that get involved in it. Item 18, Councillor Baker again. Councillor Mullally.
That's just a junction there of the board. I don't know if there's a report.
I'll just like County Council do not have funding to carry out this work in 2021, but will consider this project for a safety improvement scheme in 2022.
That's and how part of the problem came on. In olden times there used to be a type of a water table there, and I think it was pipe, but when the table was there it sort of kept people out. But there's a wall there has been knocked about 5 times in the last 6 months. I know that have been extra traffic coming when they were doing the bridge on going out onto the main road at Canavan. So I'd welcome that report, and hopefully something will be, because we have a lot more heavy vehicles now which delivered meal and stuff like that. Thank you.
Item 19, there's nobody writing to us. They don't think much of us. Any other business? Item 20.
Could I just welcome the roads allocation of money that we received today, and just to compliment and say well done to Emer there and the team and all our area engineers and staff, you know, who have put in for money for bridges, roads, low cost accident schemes, CISs. Just to compliment everybody who's doing all that work and just say well done, and we look forward to plenty more of it coming as the year goes on.
Councillor Mulvey.
Yeah, just something, if a question maybe, just I was contacted there over the weekend regarding the amber flashing lights at pedestrian crossings. If they're not working, is that down to the area engineer? Or I know of two places where the amber lights, they're not flashing, and I was contacted by 2 particular places in Ballymote.
So, yeah, the area engineer would be
Right.
the first port
Yeah,
of
just
contact. Yeah.
I'll report them to him, so thank you.
Councillor Connolly.
No, Cahill, I'd just like to propose a vote of congratulations from this municipal area to our own Kathleen Kane, the council's Kathleen Kane and all. She got a National Volunteers Hall of Fame award from the Ladies Gaelic Football Association. Now, I'm involved in the Ladies Gaelic Football for many, many years, and there is nobody more entitled to that honour than Kathleen. So I'd just like to note that at the meeting. Thanks very much.
I think that Kathleen is absolutely a great public servant and is delighted that she's been recognised for her efforts, and I'd like to thank her for her efforts in supporting us as councillors in relation to our LIS and CIS schemes. She does a brilliant job and she's a very valuable asset to the council. Anything else? Just on my own behalf, I'd like to pay tribute to a great public servant that has died since our last meeting, is Bernard Brennan. He was a judge that sat in Roscommon and in Donegal. He was a great character, very fair man. He gave everybody the benefit of the doubt and a chance, and he was a family friend. He called regularly to see my mother, and he'll be greatly missed in the Tubbercurry area, I'm sure.
I'd like just to support you on that, Michael.
And I'd like to support you on that too. He certainly was a great character, and he was a great character right up until the end. And you know, our sympathies to his family.
The only other thing that I can report to you is I circulated the correspondence in relation to the negotiations with the updating of the register. You might have got that email. We met with ALG met with the Custom House in Dublin, and the responsibility will remain with the local authorities in relation to the maintenance of the register. But a couple of key changes is that there'll be a schools programme led out by the councils to kids will be able to register from the age of 16, but they won't become entitled to vote until they're 18. And instead of going to the Gardaí to register to vote, you'll be registering with your PPSN number, your area code and your date of birth. And there is negotiations going on in the minute with them. It's not finalised yet, but in relation to frontline staff, and I know the Galway councillors are very anxious that teenagers and school-going third level education kids will be able to apply online for postal votes. And that's still up in there, and the Galway councillors are very anxious that all councillors would make submissions to the Custom House in relation to how they'd like to do it before it's finalised. So if you have any thoughts, you can contact the Custom House directly, and the names are on the report that I circulated. So that's all. That's all there. Councillor Queenan says they will be out here in an hour. 7 minutes left, Joe. Thanks very much.